What's up, guys? Welcome to the podcast. My name is Derek, and this is The Angle. So, on today's episode, we're going to be focusing on a topic that I think is more so a hot topic rather than a controversial topic. It's something that's in the news, on social media. People are talking about it. It's everywhere. It's affecting everybody in some way, somehow. So, today we're going to be talking about the housing market, what it means, kind of what's going on, and what that means for the near future. And so what I'm going to be doing is just giving my little excerpt, what I think, what I feel like is going on, just kind of my perspective of what's happening with the housing market and what to expect for the near future. That's what we're going to be talking about today, guys. So with that being said, I am not a realtor. I'm not in real estate, anything like that. So I will be using my phone here. I have some notes that I wrote down. Not on Google, just got some notes based off of a couple of conversations that I've had with some people who are knowledgeable on the topic, and a little bit of research that I've done prior to filming. I won't be doing this too often on the podcast. This will only come out if I'm talking about a topic that I'm very clueless on, like I don't know much of anything about it. I won't be here talking confidently about anything that I don't know anything about. So that's why this is here. This will be like relatively seldom. I won't do this very often, like I said before. So, don't expect this too much. But on today, I will be reading from my notes just so I can get my point across. But at the same time, I will also be giving my feel of what it means to me so you guys can understand my perspective as well. So without further ado, guys, let's get into the episode. Housing market 2024, scene 3, take 2, and right. So let's go ahead and dive into these notes, right? So what I'm going to do here is read these notes to you guys, and along the way, I'll be giving my little 2 cents, and we'll just go from there, okay? So, housing market, right? The interest rates right now are upwards of 7%, which is a lot for housing. Every 1% increase in your interest rate lowers your purchase price that you can afford for the same payment at about 10%. And with all this, the supply and demand are kind of like playing a seesaw game. And so, what that's telling me is that the percentages are higher than what has ever been, really. And I have another note that talks about that. 7% interest rate as far as like mortgage goes is incredible. That rolls over into other percentages, and that's where the money starts to stack and rise and get kind of out of hand. Um, at one point, the interest rates for home was at 0%, and people took advantage of that, and now it's time for the banks to reaccrue that money, and the people kind of don't have the money to pay back. And that's what is happening. The banks are kind of cashing in, like, hey, what's going on? Where y'all at? And people are kind of like, oh, what's happening? And so they're trying to refinance the houses, get people to come buy it out so they can get right with the bank. And what's happening with this refinancing is that they're refinancing at large amounts and alarming prices. And so we're seeing this stuff start to skyrocket, and we're trying to become homeowners as Gen Z and millennials. And we're looking at the bill like, whoa, you're asking for a crazy amount right now. Like you're tripping. Like that's kind of what's happening. That's kind of what's going on. That's kind of what we're seeing, right? So if you guys remember COVID-19, wasn't long ago, right? That played a part in it too. And by that, it played a small part. It was kind of when these things started to happen. That's kind of when the market for housing kind of took off. Um, Maybe like a year or two after, so 2020, 2021, right after COVID-19, but COVID-19 kind of lasted at least 2 or 3 years. Um, Back in 1960, the the median cost for homes was around 11K, and the median income for individuals was about 5 to 6K. Just by numbers alone, that sounds much more affordable and a lot more comfortable. We're living in 2023 now. The median cost for homes is upwards of 400K, and that's a basic home. All right. And while the median income is a little bit above 60K, median income of people, just regular folks, making about 60K. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm as regular as they come, as you can see. And I haven't even seen a 60,000. I don't even know what $60,000 look like. Never seen it. I don't know. Hopefully I get there one day. I know somebody gonna comment, get your money up, bro. What you doing? I don't know. I'm trying every single day. But that's beside the point. So and that last statistic is very relevant to a lot of us Gen Z millennial people, right? The money that we are making is not sufficing, right? It's not going to get us by. It hasn't been getting us by. I mean, it's just been about this close to bonkers. It's ridiculous. Some people are kind of making it happen. In a lot of cases, when you live in some of these bigger cities like a New York or LA, so depending on which coast you're in, but wherever it's the most expensive, people are roommating. They're shacking up, three, four, five guys or girls all staying in one place to afford it. Which it sounds fun. It sounds cool. That's kind of like what college was supposed to be for. Once you get to your mid to late 20s, you're supposed to be out on your own and getting an own home or own apartment and stuff like that. We're not able to do that all the way because the prices are unbelievable. I mean, I moved to Texas towards the end or beginning of 2020. I don't get a lot of sleep because I work too much. So I don't know. I would say maybe the beginning of 2022 is when I got here, right? And 6 to 8 months into living out here, that's when stuff started to go crazy. Now my family, they was upset about me leaving or whatever, that's beside the point. And I was trying to explain to them like what's been going on out here. And the first thing they said was Texas always been that way, but they never lived in Texas, so they don't know. I've met plenty of people out here working and doing driving jobs and just being around, trying to be social. And people have told me like, yeah, Texas was not always this bad. Like, yeah, it's more expensive than Arkansas, where I'm from. Of course, we have sports teams and bigger state, bigger things out here. But the way that stuff is right now, like right after 2022, it was never. You know what I'm saying? The housing market started to get so bad in other parts of the country that people were realizing that Texas is just as good as a California or New York, depending on what you're looking for. And they wanted to come and buy houses out here, and that's what they started to do. A lot of, especially California, because it's closer than New York. They have homes and estates out there that's worth millions of dollars, and the consistent number of people in California they are making that type of money. But the rate started to get so high for them that they were like, okay, why just buy houses out here when I can go move to Texas? I can buy 3 or 4 houses, rent those houses out, or sell them to somebody else for whatever price I want, make that money back. That's what they started doing. New York was doing some of the same, and any and everybody who just kind of was catching the drift. That's what was happening here. At least that's my experience. If a Texan has a different perspective or know of what happened, like let me know. But when I got here, that's what I saw. That's what I was told. And right when that happened, everything went crazy. My rent was going up every other month currently where I stay, and I'll talk about that later on in the podcast. But man, it's been a struggle and it's been a battle. And so, with that being said, guys, I actually have a clip of some people talking about the housing market. I kind of want y'all to check this out real quick.
Estate agent in Orlando. Freddie, great to see you again. What does this mean for someone who earns kind of a median income in the United States, maybe in their mid-20s, early 30s?
You hit the nail on the head. This is the problem that we are facing as millennials and Gen Z. The median household income sits around $81,000, but yet the average house is $400,000 in this country. And with the 8% interest rates, you need to earn about $120,000 a year to have a shot at qualifying for this loan. But for a millennial or a Gen Z, they're not going to come up with $80,000 to $100,000 for a down payment. We're lucky to get $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. But again, you still need that 120 income to back it up. So I think we're going to have to figure out for millennials and Gen Z and future generations how to redefine the American dream or how to solve this massive issue, because it's bleeding into every other part of our lives. If you're forced to rent and spend 40% of your money, how are you paying off your student loan debt? How are you investing in a retirement fund? How are you saving for a down payment if 40% goes to housing?
Right, and I hope that was informational for you guys. And so, towards the end of what he was talking about, that's very relevant for a lot of us Gen Z millennial people. How are we going to be able to do more with our finances if a good 40% of our paychecks coming straight out, going right into our housing and our living situation? Like I said earlier, that my rent has been moving up $100, $200 every other month. This apartment I stay in right now, which I could show you guys. I'm sitting on a futon as we speak. They wanted $1,700 this last month and this month as well, tacking on all these types of fees and this new stuff. We got this new company that we're leasing from, and so that's why the rent is going up like this, and that's why this is happening like this, and this is all this stuff. And I'm just like, bro, I've never even made a $1,700 paycheck. Like, I don't know where you guys are. What, like, what's happening? And you're wondering why the homeless rate is increasing everywhere we go. You know what I mean? It's terrible out here. It's bad everywhere, and it's getting so much worse. And people are wondering why. I've been on the verge of being on the street or in my car a couple of times, and I'm right back at it, to be honest with you, because I don't know where I'm going to get $1,700 from. I have other bills. My car note isn't cheap. I got to pay for the Wi-Fi. My girlfriend has a work from home job, so that has to get paid. We got the groceries. Grocery stores are not playing no games. Everything over there is quadrupled in price. We also have the toiletries that we have to worry about. I have other things to pay, so it's just I can't put everything on the rent. Speaking of having to pay for all this stuff, student loan debt started hitting recently, and I'm just like, I don't know. These guys are hitting me up, sending me emails, calling my phone. They want $300 a month student loan debt for something I'm not even able to use my degree in. Like, I'm not even using this degree. You can have it back, in exchange for the money. It didn't get me anywhere, right? I'm working several jobs instead of one job that I went to college for. Pretty crazy. And yet we have the government or whatever sending all this money to these other countries. And here's my thing: I'm not against any other country. I know what's happening in the Ukraine. I know what's happening for Palestine. All the stuff that's going on is pretty crazy, but we have our own problems here in the U.S. Now that's another conversation for another day. I'm very upset about student loan debt relief that it didn't get approved. They have some programs, right, where it works for certain people under certain circumstances. It just doesn't go for everybody. And so for the programs that's out there, I don't fall under any of those stats. Therefore, there's no help that I can really get. They want $300 from me, and when I look at my calculations, when I look at my notes and all the bills that I paid, I don't even have $300 to myself to just hang on to. I'll be lucky if I got 50 at the end of the day, for gas. So yeah, just getting personal with it. Like, it's pretty wild out here. Um, we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do, as younger people, to make it further in life with the housing. I said that all wrong. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do to be able to afford homes, right? We want to become homeowners. We want to be able to have families and put them in homes. I mean, I don't want to have kids and put them in this breaking neck apartment and we all suffering here together. Like, that's ridiculous. That's not what our predecessors had to do, right? We're kind of suffering the backlash of what the government back then was kind of trying to tuck under the rug up until this point, and now all the cats are out the bag, and here we are dealing with all this stuff, and it kind of sucks to sit here and deal with it, but that's kind of where we are. I do have my girlfriend here, so we split the rent and we share the apartment and everything, so we split most of the bills. I do pay a good majority, but we do what we can together. If I was a single individual, I would do what everybody else is doing. I would be staying with about 4 or 5 other dudes just to get by. Because that's what a lot of people are doing right now, especially some of the bigger cities. They kind of just get a loft or some type of fancy condo or a nice regular house with several rooms in it. They rent that out together and they stick it out, and that's kind of how a lot of people are getting through right now. If you're meeting people who kind of already have their own home, is a couple of things. They are so well off that even the inflation and what's going on just doesn't bother them. Two, they're a little bit older and they bought their home before all this stuff started to happen, and so they're set, so they don't have to worry about this. So if you run into those people, hats off to those guys. But for the rest of us who kind of fell short of all those things, here we are dealing with it. So guys, that's just my take on the housing market and what's going on. So what to expect, right? For 2024, expect a lot of the same. According to my sources, it's not going to get too much better, but it has to get worse before it gets better. And so, with that being said, I do have some good news, right? For one of my jobs, I'm a rideshare employee, and I was driving a passenger, and it turns out she was into real estate, and she does it, and she works for the market. And so we did have a conversation about this because I was, trying to take my notes for this episode. And she said, "Well, I have good news for you. According to my calculations, this is not a guarantee. This is not some projection that went around globally. This is something that she kind of calculated on her own, but it sounded good to me. Year 2025, 2026, we should start to see a decline, if not a reset on the housing market for everybody. Things should go back to normal virtually, is what she said. That includes inflation as well, like inflation, gas, and food. Everything starts to trickle back down to normal. The reason why she said this is because what's happening right now, especially with the housing market, was not something that the government necessarily planned. It's more so just a chain of events that went down. Excuse me. It was more like a chain of events that went down, natural causes that is the reason, is the purpose of why things kind of are the way that it is right now. And so for that reason, it has to go back to normal just because it was never the plan. Like, people have to be able to do things regularly. Like, stuff is ridiculous right now. And just because of that fact doesn't mean that the government or whoever's in charge can just go back and snap it back together like we would think. It kind of just has to run its course, and that's kind of where we are. We're in the middle of running its course. So I like that. I'm gonna take that as some good news. I have high hopes because I plan to move, or well, we plan to move somewhere new by the year 2025, and so if things are gonna go back down, we can actually get somewhere affordable. That would be fantastic. So, guys, that is my episode for today. Please go ahead and comment, subscribe, hit the bell. If you got any notes on this, if you know anything about the housing market, if I'm wrong, if everything that I said was a bunch of gibberish out of my notes or my thoughts, whatever, comment what you think. Comment what you have to say against what I said, or if there are some things that you agree with. Let me know also in the comments. Like, let's just get in the comments. Let's have a conversation about it. Tell me what you guys think about it, man. So my name is Derek. This is The Angle. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. Peace out.